have returned, and I'm now beardless. And this will be a little bit of a review on UFC 99, not so much on the fights, but on kind of what it means, because I think the fights have been pretty well covered by a number of people as to like the literal, play-by-play, I suppose you could say. This is just, going to be kind of my thoughts on them and some reactions, and then some hockey stuff. But I'll do the MMA stuff, and then you can turn the video off when I get to the hockey stuff if you really wish. Anyways, we open up with the fights. We have Dan Hardy, Marcus Davis. Dan Hardy wins by split decision. It was a good fight. The rematch that Marcus Davis is asking for will probably be granted in all likelihood, and I'm not particularly interested to see it because there wasn't a lot I could see that Davis could have done particularly different. I think Hardy is just, a lot of Hardy's skills were unverified by his previous fights. I mean, he beat Roy Markin very quickly. He did well against Akira Gono, but Gono's a bit, even undersized at welterweight. So it was hard to see where to really gauge him. But I think this kind of moves him from prospect to upper tier fighter, but not yet a contender for the title. I think he still needs to beat someone a little bit higher up on the list. Kind of like Mike Swick, actually, which we'll talk about later. Spencer Fisher, Kyle Uno. This does nothing for Spencer Fisher's stock amongst the UFC fans. Amongst like hardcore MMA fans, him beating Uno by unanimous decision is a big thing because Uno has a lot of respect as a one-time top 10 lightweight, maybe still a top 10 lightweight. I don't think so personally, but his win over Ishida had him there for a little bit. But in the eyes of the casual fan, I don't think it really does anything, but it's a win. It furthers him in the UFC's eyes a little bit. As for Kyle Uno, don't know the details of his contract. He'll probably be back at least once more to fight somebody, and then we'll see what happens after that. Mike Swick, Ben Saunders. Ben Saunders gets pretty much crushed by Mike Swick. I thought it'd be more competitive than it was, but I did pick Swick. This kind of moves Swick into the upper echelon, kind of like Dan Hardy. Well, actually, I guess he was there already, so I guess this doesn't really advance him in that way. He's still not a contender, in my opinion. He has to beat someone the caliber of, unfortunately, his teammates Josh Koscheck and John Fitch, or he has to beat someone like Thiago Alves, or maybe Carl Parisian still holds some weight, so we'll see what they do with him. Ben Saunders, where does he go? Fight someone lower level. He's a very marketable, exciting fighter. He's going to be around for a while. Mirko Cro Cop, Mustafa Al-Turk. Now this is the thing I really wanted to talk about, and that is people really are harshing on Mirko Cro Cop for ditching after a one-fight deal. People, it's a one-fight deal. What do you want the man to do exactly? Like, he's guaranteed one fight of payment from the UFC. He did it. He put on a pretty good show, and he won the fight. People are saying it's classless to leave, but is it classless for someone like, Marion Hossa to lead the Pittsburgh Penguins after going to a Stanley Cup? Like, to use a hockey reference. You could use a baseball reference or whatever. Or Billy Guerin, who's probably going to lead the Pittsburgh Penguins this year after they won a Stanley Cup. I don't get it. You fulfill what your contract is. Dana White has no problem cutting off fighters before their end of their contracts repetitively for in some cases, not even bad results. I mean, i.e. Logan Clark, who signed a 3-fight deal way back when, won his only fight and never got fights 2 and 3 in the UFC. So, I don't understand where the classless bullshit comes from. Like, I don't get terribly, heated about this usually, but what is wrong with you people? Are you lemmings that follow Dana White everywhere? I mean, it's insane. Dana's sometimes right, sometimes wrong. In this case, Cro Cop did the UFC a favor. They needed a big name in the German marketplace, so they needed someone European and, big. And that's basically Cro Cop in a nutshell. And he did it. And he got one-fight deal. Had Dana White signed him to a 3-fight deal and he ditched after this fight, then you'd have a point. But it's a 1-fight deal. He served it in discussion. As for Al-Turk, probably gone. He's been pretty much killed in both fights he's had. He has no real big wins except, did he beat Tengiz Tataradze? I can't remember. That was his only other big fight, though. And I guarantee maybe like half the people watching this video don't know who Tengiz Tataradze is. Moving on, we had Cain Velasquez check Congo. Cain Velasquez showed some holes in his game, which is mainly submissions, which is not good when you look at potential fights against a guy like Lesnar or Carwin. Congo showed us the weaknesses that he seems to always have, and dude, get some fucking takedown defense and get some ground game, because you're terrible. And I mean, your striking's good. It's very good, actually, but you have the continual problem that if you keep getting taken down, you're going to lose in the UFC, and that's all there is to it. Rich Franklin, Vanderlei Silva, very good fight. Confusing decision on the 30-27 for Rich Franklin. I don't know how you can say he won all 3 rounds, but whatever. For Rich, he's kind of in the title picture, although I don't think you really want to see him fight Lyoto Machida again. And that's kind of it on that regard, because he's already been you know, beaten by Lyoto before his UFC days. I will give you the event name actually momentarily, because it was actually not a bad fight. I fully enjoyed it. But anyways, moving on for Vanderlei. People are saying it's the end of the road for Vanderlei. I personally don't think so. Just purely a personal opinion. I think he still has something left. I think getting knocked out by Rampage does not equal the end of your career. I think losing to Rich Franklin by decision does not equal the end of your career. I think his days of being a top A-level fighter are somewhat done, unless he kind of reinvents himself. But at the same time, I don't believe that... Yeah, there we go. Lyoto Machida, Inko Bomya in 2003. TKO by punches in the 2nd round. That was a good fight, although I don't think the card was particularly good. But continuing on in the vein I was talking about, I don't think it's over for him, but that's all I have to say. So I disagree with people there. Alright, now to the hockey part. And this is going to be primarily centered around the Pheonix Coyotes and Jim Balsillie. The ruling came down that Jim Balsillie cannot buy the team under the pretense of relocating it to Hamilton. He can buy the team and then discuss a relocation fee with the NHL, but we know the NHL is not going to do that. So if he buys the team, he's going to have to stay in Phoenix. Which probably means, I don't know, maybe he will still buy the team, but I don't think so personally. Because, you know, no one... Let's put it this way, I don't understand how 4 groups are actually interested in keeping a team in Phoenix. People keep saying, you know, if the team starts winning, results will come. If the team starts, you know, doing well, you know, people will show up, money will come in, and it can be profitable. I don't think it can in Phoenix. They point to like other turnarounds, like the Chicago Blackhawks and Pittsburgh Penguins and Washington Capitals. And here's the thing: Chicago and Pittsburgh are both hockey towns. Glendale, Arizona, is not a hockey town. I think in Pittsburgh it was somewhat of an economy-related thing. Chicago, it was the team was bad for so long that, you know, they sent a message. You get a better team in Chicago. You also get Sidney Crosby in Pittsburgh, and unless you can guarantee me Alex Ovechkin or Sidney Crosby, and there's a player like that in the upcoming draft that Phoenix can get, they won't be turning it around, I don't think. And that pretty much is why Washington's doing so much better. You have Alex Ovechkin there. Alex Ovechkin is one of the most exciting hockey players in the NHL right now. I don't think anyone would particularly disagree with that. Is he the best player? I don't know, but I mean, he's exciting. He brings raw emotion to the game, and he scores fantastic goals. So I think those 3 arguments are completely null and void. And I also like the whole we are dedicated to the cities, but we rip teams out of Winnipeg, Quebec, and Hartford, and Minnesota, which were all like fan supported. I don't know if they were losing money. They may have. I mean, the corporate in all 4 of those cities is pretty weak. So it is possible that those teams were not doing well financially, but the fan support was there. And of where they moved them, the only one that gets a lot of fan support is probably Colorado. Dallas does okay. Carolina does okay. Phoenix loses money, apparently to the tune of $300 million since they've been there. It's very frustrating. I mean, the NHL doesn't like Balsillie. They don't like the idea of a team in Hamilton. I get this, but you know what? You have to move. You have to either contract some of these teams or move them. And if you can point to a more viable market than Hamilton, go ahead. But I don't think there's an American market to move to. The best one I think anyone's brought up is maybe Seattle. I don't know if that would even work. Kansas City wants a team, but you know what? They failed before. You could move back to Winnipeg. There's another option, or Quebec City. But you moved from these places. So, anyways, it's a messed up situation. I hope the Phoenix Coyotes do move, because I think, you know, they're a lost cause in Phoenix. I think it hurts the league because you have revenue sharing, and other teams are gouging up the debt of teams like Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Florida, and Phoenix and Nashville. That's my 2 cents.